to me. You guys know that I've always said that my YouTube channel, my podcast, and stuff like that, which is on Spotify, by the way, I always say this is the home for intelligent Black people, and I've always said that. I will continue to say that because it's true. I want intelligent Black people that want to grow, that want to learn. Not you don't have to be intelligent necessarily. You just have to value intelligence. And that's what I'm sticking with forever, right? But I remember there was one point where there was an NBA, a former NBA player. His name was Kwame Brown, and he played with Michael Jordan back with the Washington Wizards back in the day. And I remember that there was a point where somebody said, "Yeah, this guy Kwame Brown keeps talking about you, and he's really mad at you." And I didn't understand why Kwame Brown was so mad at me. I don't know the man. I never met him. I didn't have anything against him. I remember him going to the NBA. If you don't remember, if you know basketball, Kwame Brown was a really popular high school player. He was the number one draft pick coming out of high school, and he got drafted number one in the NBA draft. And he ended up going to play with Michael Jordan at the Wizards. And Michael Jordan, I don't know if I'd want to play with him. Most people that play with him kind of say he was kind of a jerk. But I don't know. I've never met Michael Jordan. But at the same time, though, I think Kwame got bullied pretty bad by Michael Jordan. It wasn't fair. He was 17, 18 years old. It must have been hard for him. But anyway, that's all I knew about him. I didn't know anything else about the guy. I knew a couple of guys who played for the Wizards and stuff like that. And I asked them, I said, and this guy would just, I mean, this Kwame Brown basketball player guy was just hammering away every day. He was talking about me. He was talking about Alicia. He talking just almost like a dog. And I said, man, this man doesn't even know me. He doesn't know my wife, but he's talking about us. Like, what did I do to him? So I called my friend. I have a friend named Etan Thomas who played for the Wizards years ago. And I called Etan. I said, what's going on? I said, is something okay? Is he all right? Like, do I need to apologize for something? What did I do to him? And nobody understood. But here's something my wife said that was really interesting to me that made me think about it because she doesn't react. She didn't get offended by the things he said. He said some pretty nasty stuff. It's the internet's a nasty place, right? So if you ever do stuff online, just be prepared for people to talk a lot about things they don't know anything about. Or if you're lucky enough to be successful, someone will form a rumor about you or gossip about you. When me and Alicia got married, there was all kinds of weird, ridiculous stuff people were saying. But it was okay though. It's okay. We know our truth. And anyway, one thing she said to me about Kwame Brown that really made me think was she said, "Well, you're a college professor and you're pretty smart." And she said, "Sometimes your being a professor can trigger people." And I said, "Well, why would we be triggered by professors? Professors don't run around beating people up. Like what I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna tell my truth, and I'm not scared of nothing. But I said, I'm not out here hurting people or nothing. Like, I know the white man's scared of me, but why should Black people be taken aback in that same way?" And she said, "Well, because you speak a truth that maybe people aren't used to, which is going to shock people." But then also she said that a lot of us did not have a good experience with the public school system. So a lot of our people, if they had a bad experience with the school system, and you say you're a teacher or you're a professor, they might automatically make these assumptions like, "Oh, you think you're better than me," or "You think I'm stupid," things like that, right? And I thought about that. The only reason I thought about that even more deeply was because I remember there was one point where in his many long, I mean, and this guy did about 11 videos. They were like an hour long ranting about me, and I just thought that was the wildest thing. I'd never seen that before. I didn't watch any of them. I don't really watch YouTube videos that much, except for stuff that helps me learn. I like to learn stuff. I watch a video about financial news or artificial intelligence or something, but I don't really, outside of that, I'm not really just sitting watching YouTube videos of people talking. It's just people's opinions. But one thing that he said that really made me think, and this is what I want to get into today, is he said you say your platforms are for intelligent Black people, and then you think you're intelligent Black people, right? Like almost like calling yourself an intelligent Black person is some type of elitism. That somehow calling yourself an intelligent Black person and identifying as intelligent is it's offensive, or it's you think you're better than other people, or you're a snob. Now, here's what's fascinating to me is that if I said, I'm a thug nigga, right? If I said that, like, I know a lot of people wouldn't be offended by that. In fact, corporate America would love me for that, right? If I said I was a comedian, right? Like I'm the funniest Negro in America, right? I think that there would be a lot of different reaction, right? In fact, if you really analyze carefully the internet, and you look at some of the biggest influencers on the internet, some of them are black males. Like there's a guy named Kofi Anai or Kobe Kubi. So his name starts with a K, I think, and he has more TikTok followers than anyone on earth. You know, anybody know who I'm talking about? Kobe Lane, Kobe Lane, Kobe Lane. Kobe Lane, if you look at his show, if you look at his platform carefully, what you'll see is he basically has a minstrel show. That his platform really is a minstrel show. He doesn't talk. All he does is he'll point at something and go, or he'll go, right? And if you study minstrel and how minstrel shows operate, that's what you see. Or I saw another black guy. He's real muscular and he likes to dance, and it looks real funny when a muscular guy's dancing a lot. And that's what he'll do. So he was sitting in a fancy restaurant amongst all these rich people, and he had some servers behind him, and they serve him a bite of food, and he would get up and dance like real fast, and then he'd sit back down, and then they would give him another bite of food, and then he would dance again. I forgot his name. I don't know the guy's name. I don't know any of these names. Or Kai Cenat even. If you look at Kai Cenat, who's another big influencer, most of the time he's yelling, he's screaming, it's like nigga this, nigga that, right? It's very outrageous, right? Like really, generally speaking, there are certain personas for black men that are widely loved and accepted, and that's the thug, the comedian, or the athlete. Those tend to be the three black male personas that are most readily accepted. So what I have found was that having the persona to say, look, I'm not trying to be funny. All the time. I might be funny sometimes because I like to laugh, but I'm not a comedian. It's because I ain't trying to be. I'm not a joke, and neither are you. I don't. I'm not a basketball player. I'm not 6'8", 240 pounds. I'm 5'8", over 200 pounds. I'm way too much, but I ain't got the height to go with it. I'm not a rapper. I'm not a thug. I've been around thugs. I've stood up to thugs. My daddy was a thug, but I'm not a thug, right? That doesn't real. There's not always a place for that, and that was something that I just had to kind of explore and express and think about in terms of how I sort of navigated through this world. And so what I found was something that was really intriguing. And I'm going to show you this video. I put it on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. There I go, using that fancy word finance. I've had people say, don't use the word finance, say money, because finance is too elitist. I'm like, no, we need to know what finances are, because most of us are struggling because of our finances. So no, black people need to know the word finance. Is that okay? Do I sound like a snob when I say that we should be intelligent people who understand our finances? What do y'all think? Yes or no? Do y'all think that does that make me just an uppity Negro? Am I acting white? Am I acting white? Is that what it is? You being a white boy, man. You sound like MAGA. You a Trump supporter because you white who want to be white, talking about responsible finances and taking care of your kids and reading books and stuff. What's wrong with you, Negro? Anyway, so Dr. Boyce Finance is my Instagram, and so here's this video, and I thought this video was really telling in terms of something that I did not know. And I explored this more deeply this morning, and it might help some of you understand your life experience as intelligent black people. All of y'all are intelligent. Give me a yes in the chat if you either are an intelligent black person, you value intelligent black people, and or you want to be a more intelligent black person. Give me a yes in the chat if that's who you are, because we got to wave our flag, man, because there's too much buffoonery in the world, and buffoonery is getting Negroes killed out here. Black people are dying in the streets, getting in gunfights and shootouts and slapping each other, cussing each other out, stealing each other's babies, and right. So we ain't trying to. No, we want to be happy. All right, so here, check this out. This video was really telling and very interesting to me, and I thought I would share it with you, and I'm going to break down some of the science, so here it goes.
So smart that it literally triggers people. A 2021 study showed that exposure to superior intelligence activates our threat detection system in the brain. The amygdala lights up when we encounter someone visibly smarter than us, and it's the same response we have to physical threats. It upsets us. I ain't even done. But when I tell you this tweet alone made so much sense about my life, It's not just a figure of speech when people say that intelligence hurts the ego. It literally triggers pain response, which makes us sensitive. If people feel less intelligent around you, they either avoid you unconsciously, cheapen you to feel better, or try to prove you wrong. You're so smart that it literally triggers people. A 2021 study showed that exposure to superior intelligence activates our threat detection system in the brain. The amygdala lights up when we encounter someone visibly smarter than us, and it's the same response we have to physical threats. It upsets us. I ain't even done. But when I tell you this tweet alone made so much sense about my life. It's not just a figure of speech when people say that intelligence hurts the ego. It literally triggers pain response, which makes us sensitive. If people feel less intelligent around you, they either avoid you unconsciously, cheapen you to feel better, or try to prove you wrong.
Ooh, did y'all hear that? Were y'all able to hear that? Let me know if you were able to hear that. How many of y'all were freaked out by this? How many did anybody else watch this and say, "Oh my God"? Did anybody say, "Whoa"? See, some of y'all are so smart. You've been assaulting people your whole life, assaulting and insulting people your whole life, and you don't even know it. All you were doing was sharing information. All you were doing was trying to help Negroes find a way out. All you did was suggest to your boss a more efficient way to do the job, and then you got fired the next day. Right? You you just pointed out an error that was important, and next thing you know, he wanted to break up with you. He's telling you that you think you better than everybody, right? Like it's crazy, right? I mean, this whole oh my God, oh my well, I said oh my brain exploded almost when I heard that, and it just I said oh my God, okay, I think we got our topic for today because man, oh man, oh man, now you know why um the world another key, another piece to the puzzle to understand why the world is the way it is. Uh many it provides a key to many pieces of confusion. For example, why they were so threatened by the idea of a slave learning how to read. You know, two, 300, 400 years ago, if you were black and you were a slave and you learned how to read and you were intelligent, they would want to kill you, right? That because your intelligence itself is a threat. And I stand by this point, and again, I'm gonna racialize it for a minute, even though this applies to all people. This applies to dating. This applies to some of your friendships. This applies to certainly applies to what happens at your job, but I'm gonna racialize it for a minute and really go back to this fundamental premise idea. See, the most dangerous black person in America is not it's not a thug nigga. It's not some entertainer. It's not some clown, some fake politician. The most dangerous black person in America is the intelligent black man, the intelligent black woman that you are dangerous. They mention a lot of the interesting terms, the psychotherapy terms, the amygdala and triggers and the pain response, and like you put them in physical pain when you show up and you're intelligent. Like you the threat detection system, right? So you are a natural threat, whether you like it or not. And so actually, you even talking to me, us talking every morning, I feel a little bit sad about it because by you and I just talking, I'm probably putting you in danger or making you a danger or a perceived danger to some of the people around you. Some of the people may even love you. I'm talking about relationships. I feel bad. It makes me feel very bad. I have seen scenarios where little things that I have shared with people and broken down has caused relationships to come to an end, and that's not my goal. Because I do believe that despite the fact that others may be threatened by intelligent black people, the only chance you have to really survive in this world is by being an intelligent black person. Unless you want to be a slave, unless you want to be exterminated, unless you want to be used and manipulated and exploited and all these other things that they say happen to black people. So if intelligence and sort of being introduced to new ideas and critical thinking skill is scary for you and scary for other people, then you're always open to go back to the comfort of simply being a sheep. You can go back to ignorance. Why do you think that there are smart people who dumb themselves down? Well, because they don't want to make others uncomfortable. They don't want to be seen as a threat. They don't want others threatening them. Or because remember, when people are triggered and they perceive you as a threat, then that person who perceives you as a threat may become a threat to you. Like, I'm going to beat you up because you said something that reminded me of how ignorant I am. Now, I brought that. So I started the conversation with that whole interaction I had with that basketball player because that's what it kind of ended up becoming. It became a time where I said, I think I almost feel like he's trying to bully me or something. And but I'm a grown man. That doesn't really work very well, But it was still kind of like, wow, like this is so interesting. Like I'm going to rather than talk to you about how we're different or how we can learn from each other. I'm going to harass you to the point where others who follow me, I think he had over 1 million followers, my followers are going to harass you too. So I went to New York. I was in New York City, and a brother came up and he said, "You're Dr. Boyce Watkins, right?" I said, "Hey, how you doing, man?" And he said, "Yeah, yeah. Kwame ate you up when Mama's cooking. Ate you up when Mama's cooking." And I said, "I'm sorry, sir, but I don't listen to bullshit. I don't even know what you're talking about. What what are you like we're not teenagers anymore. I'm 50. Like I don't, maybe when I was 12 that would have made a difference, but at 50 it doesn't. We're adult. You do know you know we're adults, right? You know that you're 42, but you sound like a teenager, right? So my point is to say that sort of that video reminded me of that experience because to this day, in fact, Judge Joe Brown called me recently, and I got to call him back. Thank you. I'm glad this came up because he's friends with this guy, and I want to add. I was still curious, like, what happened here? Or what did I? So my point is to say to you, not to talk about myself. Let's put that to the side. Um, I'm gonna say this, and I want to say it humbly, as humble as I can. I know that I'm not stupid. Okay. I had more education by the age of 25 than most people will have their whole entire life. I was teaching college students when I was 22. So if you want to call someone a smart ass, I probably was a smart ass. And the worst part of being more educated and more intelligent was that I was committed to always doing my best to be as humble as I could be. I never ever believed that I was better than anybody, but I also didn't believe anybody was better than me. So knowing the second part is what allowed me to be courageous in the face of adversity or challenges or bullies. But also the first part of knowing I'm not better than anybody was my way of staying rooted into the ground. I didn't want to become one of those arrogant people. But the problem with that, the downside of that though, was that because I didn't believe that I was better than anyone or more capable than anyone, I assumed that everything that I understood, everybody would get. I would say, like, this is so simple. Why doesn't everybody get it? And literally every now and then somebody would have to say, because Boyce, you're a college professor, and most people are not. And I would say, oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I had to really start doing that. And so what happens sometimes is because I become so passionately committed to it, sort of frustrated by the silly ways they control black people, I would say that is so dumb. Like, what the, why do we fall for this every time? Right. And it would just make people so mad. I mean, I'm telling you, just a glimpse into this world, this weird world that I live from where I'm sitting. I got banned from what was it? It wasn't Essence, it was Ebony Magazine. Magazine. Their senior manager, like said, we will not publish anything from Dr. Boyce Watkins. One of their editors was like, "Yeah, we got to publish this guy because what he's saying is good." And she was like, "We will never publish anything from this man." And I think that it was because in Chicago, I probably upset a lot of the black elites because I challenged their thinking. I said, what you're doing is wrong. It's not working. You got half of your damn city full of black people that are dying in the street. You're not doing nothing about it. But you're sitting up there cozied up with the white man as if everything's okay. And that's not appropriate behavior. Something's wrong with this, right? So I identify with people like Dr. Claude Anderson, who have a message of black empowerment, right? Dr. Anderson, if you read books like Powernomics and Black Labor, White Wealth, Black Labor, White Wealth is a book I highly recommend because when you read that book, you're going to be like, oh, I understand now. That's what's going to happen. You're going to read that book and you're going to say, oh, okay, now I know why white people have all the money. Now I know why things happen this way. Now I know why they own the businesses. Now I know why their neighborhoods are nice and our neighborhoods are not, right? It'll all come together for you, right? And so ultimately, I believe that If you truly care about black people, you have to embrace critical thinking skill. You cannot embrace the brainwashing because the brainwashing is designed to maintain the status quo. I also believe that you have to have the courage to deal with and withstand those who are going to give you pushback and tell you that you're inappropriate or that you're too radical or that something's wrong with you. I think that we need radical black people in the world. Dr. Anderson actually said that to me when I met him in 2006. He said to me, I'll never forget a few meetings I had for the first time. I'll never forget I met Dr. George Frazier in 2006. I met actually 2006 was a big year now that I think about it. 2006, I met Dr. George Frazier. I met Dr. Claude Anderson. I met Michael Eric Dyson. I met Julianne Malveaux. I met Cornel West probably around 2012. I met Louis Farrakhan maybe about 2012. And so these are people that that I learned something from in terms of how they think and getting a perspective. And one thing Dr. Anderson said to me that I'll share with you that I hope will help you is I told him I was back at Syracuse. I was at Syracuse University at the time, and I said, man, you know how they act on your job when you have these new ideas and you're black and they want to label you as radical and that you're a troublemaker. And he said, yeah, he said, you're supposed to be radical. He said, if you're black, you're supposed to be radical. If you're not radical, then what good are you? You're not of any good to anybody if you're simply going along with the status quo. He said, no, it's good for you, especially as a scholar, for you to be radical because you want to propose radical ideas that are going to lead to radical change. They're going to radically improve people's lives. So from that point on, I embraced the idea of being radical. So, and anyway, by the way, Dr. Claude Anderson's website is powernomics.com. If you haven't gotten his books, I encourage you get his books for your kids, buy extra copies, give them out to the little Negroes in the neighborhood, pass them out to your cousin, and then them like use them for family book clubs. These books are the best. This is where we should learn our history. Black Labor, White Wealth is the name of the book I mentioned, and then he also has Powernomics, Dirty Little Secrets, and we read Dr. Anderson books every Wednesday night in our Powernomics training, and we've been doing this for about 5 years now, and we do this every single Wednesday religiously. Now, with that being said, let's talk about this whole intelligence thing in terms of the science behind why your being intelligent can trigger people and also why it might mean for I know a lot of you have probably been in situations maybe in relationships where you had to deal with someone who was made uncomfortable because you were smart. This happens a lot with women because men, we have our egos. I believe being respected is very important for men, but at the same time it's important to be man enough to not always be disrespected by every little trigger, right? So it's kind of a balancing act. And so my wife, for example, has a PhD. She's a full professor of social work, and sometimes we'll get into these little debates. I'm telling you, you think that two college professors would always get along? No, everybody thinks they're the teacher. So we have these tough conversations where it's like, okay, I'm going to be the student for 5 minutes, but then I need you to be the student after that. And it becomes a little bit tough. But one of the things that I did tell her was I said, I can debate with you because I've learned a lot of things about patience and emotional intelligence. And also, I have a lot of regular intelligence. I have a lot of education. I can match you pound for pound on that. I said, but really, honestly, I don't really know how I would feel if I was a truck driver and you pulled out your PhD in order to undermine or discredit an argument that I was making, right? And that's just sort of real talk. So a lot of times you see this happen in a lot of relationships, especially with black women being so highly educated and got the master's degrees and the doctorates and everything. And this is another rope a dope that's pulled on the black community, in my opinion. Millions of black boys get ruined because they chase that false dream of professional sports, which is a dead dream. It's dead for 99.9% of all of them, but they'll chase this false dream of professional sports at the expense of their educational development. Do you understand? Like right, like the little black girl is not growing up dreaming about playing in the WNBA most of the time. Some of them are, most of them are not. Most of them they aren't thinking like, okay, if I go to the basketball court every day, I can get my family out of the hood. They're thinking if I get in these books, I can get my family out of the hood, right? But the little boy literally is out there shooting jump shots, shooting jumpers. Y'all seen it? Hoop Dreams. They have whole movies about it where he's out there literally shooting jumpers in the middle of a snowstorm because he feels like that's going to help him, retire his mama and buy her a house. And why does he believe this? Well, because he's got a lot of what they refer to in statistics. They call this selection bias, right? He's sort of being biasly exposed to that 1% of 1% of NBA players who were able to get out of the hood and buy their mama a new house. But they don't see all the other tens of thousands of guys who thought they were going to buy their mama a house, but instead they never bought their mama anything because they didn't develop the tools kit and the skills required to do well financially. So what then happens, and this is only adding further to the breakdown of the black family, is that when they're both about 30 years old, this little boy and this little girl are 30 years old, the 30-year-old woman, she's got the master's degree, she's got the good job, she's making six figures, she wants to get married, and maybe her man, was a guy who played college basketball, got into lots of, weed and women and liquor and, right, the culture, right? And because he had friends that went to the NBA and he thought he'd be one of them, so got into this athlete culture that involves, unfortunately, in many cases, a lot of babies, mamas, and just a lot of crazy stuff, STDs, everything. And then you're trying to build a family with this person, and it becomes very difficult, especially given maybe if he's had sex with 1,000 women, it might be hard for him to commit to one, right? So this is real life. This is true stuff, and a lot of you have seen this out loud. And so, long story short, I think that the overwhelming dilemma kind of becomes like, okay, if you have all this intelligence in all this education, how do you maintain a commitment to your authentic self while not constantly triggering and scaring insecure people? Because there are so many people that are going to hear you talk, and just because you open your mouth, they're going to automatically have a reaction. People judge you based on that. That's why, in fact, when I play poker, I told you all I'm a pretty good poker player. I won some big tournaments with a few hundred people. It's a fun game. It's a psychology, strategy, and math. That's why I love it. And one of the rules I had when I started playing in 2009 is I did not talk at all. I said nothing because I knew that if I said one sentence, just the fact that I articulated my words would send a signal to the other players that I have education, that I wasn't like some black guy, who just, whatever, right? Just a regular dude, right? So I didn't want to send off any signal other than I was a regular dude. So I would just sit there, and I would just but I would listen. I would listen to what everybody else was saying, and I would kick their asses and take all their money by the time the game was over. 'Cause I got pretty good at it. I haven't played in a long time though, but I was pretty decent. But anyway, so here's the deal. When you're talking about social intelligence. Here's the neuroscience. So basically, the amygdala, often referred to as the brain's emotional antenna, the amygdala helps you signal danger. Is crucial for detecting and responding to emotionally salient stimuli. It collaborates with the brain's social cognitive network to interpret social interactions and assess potential threats or challenges to one's social standing. So when one exhibits high intelligence, it can inadvertently, and it's not your fault, inadvertently signal a challenge to another person's beliefs. So this is where so if you are not, it's not just about you being intelligent, it's about you being intelligent and having a different opinion. And that's the curse of consciousness. The curse of consciousness is that if you spend time in solitude and meditation and really framing and reframing and triple framing everything and really thinking through everything, what's going to happen is that you're going to come to conclusions that differ from the masses. You got to be ready for that. You literally become Neo in the Matrix and you're being pulled out of the Matrix. So you got to be ready for that life. You red pill, blue pill, right? So once you start to have these revelations, this has happened to me a lot. It happens to me every day. Constantly have these. This is my life now. It started when I was about 21, 22 years old. When you have these revelations, you then have to have the courage to connect to that and be okay with that. Maybe some of the courage to share that, but you also have to have the wisdom and the humility and patience to be able to share that without triggering other people. I'm not great at that yet. I'm not. If you follow me long enough, you know how many people I anger by the things that I say, and it's not because I'm always right. I don't. The first thing you learn when you actually, in my doctor, the first thing my doctor taught me was how little I actually know. So I don't believe I know everything. I don't believe I have every truth or the truth, but I do believe that I have a truth. I do believe I have a worthy perspective. Do you understand the difference? Right? So if I debate with you, I'm not debating with you to tell you that you're wrong and I'm right. I'm debating with you to say you're right from a perspective, I'm right from a perspective. Let's hear each other's perspectives so we can gain a multidimensional understanding of this very complex idea. Do you understand? And unfortunately, we don't live in a world that allows for those nuances. We don't live in a world where I can sit and talk to you and you could be right, and I could be right, and and we can both be wrong, right? We don't live in that world. We live in a world where either I'm right or you're wrong, and I gotta win. And I hate that. That's so limiting. It's disruptive. It tears people apart. Some of y'all got relatives that won't even talk to you because you didn't vote for the person that they wanted you to vote for, and that just infuriates me. That makes me so angry. I don't think that's right. I mean, if you believe in the basic idea of American freedom, you can never believe that it's okay to bully somebody because they didn't vote for who you wanted them to vote for. I don't care where you stand. That doesn't make any sense to me. So here, basically, when you talk about this, it says here when someone exhibits high intelligence, it can inadvertently signal or challenge others' beliefs, competence, or status. So those three things: challenge their beliefs, their competence, right? Like I feel like I'm good at something, and because I hear you correct me, that makes me question how good I am at this. That makes me question my competence. And I think women go through that a lot with men if the men are insecure, right? Also status. You know, if I believe I'm the leader and you're the follower, and then you correct me, then I'm gonna maybe have an issue with that, right? I'm the manager, you're the employee, I'm the head of household. You're supposed to be the right. So that I think it shows itself in the workplace. Because being black in the workplace, it makes you a natural threat, especially if you're black and intelligent and don't have a lot of fear. Um, or even if you have a lot of competence, things like that. A lot of you've seen that. You've seen that where your manager's scared that you're going to take their job, so they start to treat you badly, that kind of thing. And then also maybe in relationships, right? When you're dealing with somebody who doesn't really like correction very much. And I don't think this is just true with men. I've seen a lot of women. Tell me if you've seen this. A lot of y'all know women that will not allow themselves to be corrected. In fact, they think the idea of being corrected by a man is oppressive and it's ridiculous and it's trifling, right? They'll correct you all day, but you try to correct them, they don't want to hear it, right? So either way, I think all that's just ignorant. I think that any smart person should want to be corrected and know that being corrected doesn't mean you're not competent. Being corrected doesn't mean that you don't still have your independence. Teenagers don't like to be corrected or guided a lot of times. So when I'm counseling young people, especially about things like life choices or wealth and things like that, is I say, look, I want to make it clear that you're the boss. You get to make the final decision. I'm not here to control your life. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'll never do that. I am just an advisor. And all I'm asking, and that helps too, if you ask permission, like all I'm asking is that you allow me to help you to achieve whatever goal you set for yourself, to make whatever decision you want to make that's best for you. Can you help? Can you allow me to do that? Right? And a lot of times people will be more receptive to that feedback in that context. So really, when you are that intelligent person, you have good ideas and you want to share them with other people. Like, so for example, even if you don't believe you're in that category, even if you don't believe you're intelligent, even if you don't believe you have any special competence, I'm gonna give you some news right now. If you've been, how many of you have come to this class more than three times? How many of you give me a yes if you come here more than three times, or and put your number in the chat if you want to. If you got if you think if you've been here more than 100, put 100. If you think you've been here more than 1,000, put 1,500 times. What, right? Or for years, or I've been coming in since 2012. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna just give you some news. If you come here more than three times, you have competence that 98% of all people don't have. America is horrifically bad when it comes to finances, and that is by design. Most Americans, I'm not just talking about black people, most Americans don't know a damn thing about how the world runs economically, but yet they are all up in the economic engine and don't know how the damn engine runs. Why is that? Well, because you're not supposed to be a beneficiary of the engine. You're not the controller of the engine. You're just a commodity of the engine. You are a component of the engine. You are a cog in the wheel. At least that's how they train you. You are trained to be like the oil. The oil doesn't need to understand how the car engine runs. The oil just got to do what oil does. But they need oil to make the engine run. So they need you to make the engine run, but they don't need you to understand how the engine runs, because if you learn how the engine runs, then your consciousness will rise up and you may not want to do your job. If the oil suddenly figures out like, hey, I don't want to be the oil. I get dusty and dirty and grindy and nasty. I don't want to be oil anymore. I want to be a driver. I want to drive the car. Well, they're gonna be like, but you can't drive the car. You're the oil in the car. You're the cog in the wheel. You're not supposed to tell me which way to drive the wheel. You're supposed to just do what a wheel does, do what a cog in the wheel does, right? So in this complex economy, in capitalist systems, you've got the overall engine, and then you've got the pieces to the engine. And so black people generally, especially, and then Americans in general, working class people, etc., are components to the engine. And there are people who control entire systems who tell these little pawns and these little components where they need to be. Do you understand? Like the Rockefellers, they design the system. They give $1 billion to medical schools and say, here's how we're going to shape medical education in this country so that you'll lean heavily on pharmaceuticals, which need oil products in order for them to operate or to work properly. So we're going to train you as a medical doctor, even the most highly educated people in society, we're going to train you to just give a bunch of drugs to people because drugs will make us money. We're trying to become drug dealers here. How, they help us do our job. So basically, at the end of the day, what I would encourage you to understand is that just by virtue of the fact that you're coming in here every day, and by virtue of the fact that you love your family, all of you love your family, I assume. I hope everybody does. You're gonna want to come back. When you hear something and you're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know that the world worked this way. I didn't know. Did you know that when the banks charge you a fee, they do blah 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 blah? Or did you know that when the stock market goes down, it's never crashed. It's actually reversed itself, and that's when all the money gets made, right? You're gonna go back and you're gonna want to share this information with other people, and unfortunately, you're going to be seen maybe as a know-it-all or as somebody who is they're gonna be like, oh, shut up, don't nobody want to hear all that, right? And it's really frustrating to me because it's like, well, wait a minute, you don't want to hear all that when I'm trying to teach you about finances, but I'm supposed to hear your problem when you're whining about how your punk ass can't pay the rent. Right? You don't want to hear me when I'm trying to talk to you about economic responsibility, but I'm supposed to listen to you when you calling me cause Big Mama got evicted and JoJo can't afford to pay his baby's mama's child support and all this. You want me to hear you with all your financial problems, but you don't want to hear nothing about my financial solutions. That angers me. I don't know, that just irritates me. It's like, look, if you don't want to hear the solution, then I don't want to hear your problem. Don't bring your problem to me, and I won't bring my solution to you. How about that? Right? So there, but still, because we love people and you want to break generational curses, you have to find ways to communicate. This is where my secret weapon. I'm happy I married my wife because one thing that therapists are really good at. My wife is a therapist. She trains therapists on how to get a license to be a therapist. Like she gets email alerts every morning from like the Gottman Institute on healthy relationships. It's just crazy. It's wild how much she's into that. So one thing therapists are good at that I learned in terms of valuable tools is they're really good at knowing how to communicate with other human beings and how to be empathetic, how to connect to people, how to understand people, right? Because most everything is about how you make people feel when you do what you're gonna do. And I'm still not that great at it. It's hard because I didn't grow up. I grew up in a very. My father was very dismissive. My father was a police commander, military veteran. It's like I ain't doing it. This is what we're gonna do. Shut up. It was kind of like that, right? So I had to still learn these skills. It takes work. But one of the things that I would suggest learning as you're sort of trying to figure out how to communicate your ideas in an intelligent way is to learn how to do that in a way that is empathetic and understanding, meaning like that old saying, like forgive them for they know not what they do. Or I think Malcolm X said, when you talk to someone who knows less than you, remember that there was a time where you knew less than what you know right now. So that patience and stuff like that, that's hard, but it's required. And what I think makes it really hard though too is that sometimes it's can I say this? If somebody's ignorant, there's nothing wrong with being ignorant. We all started off ignorant, right? If someone's ignorant people don't even know that they're ignorant, and that's totally fine. But what drives me crazy is when you meet an ignorant person who thinks they know everything. Has anybody ever run into that? Like somebody like you know less than everyone else in the room, but yet you do the most talking. and you are the most stuck on your stupid opinion and the least flexible in terms of hearing anybody else's ideas. Like the least ignorant person in the room thinks they know everything. That's what I hate. It's bad enough to be a know-it-all. It's even worse when you're a know-it-all who don't know nothing. Right? Like I hate that. That just infuriates me. And I've gone through that. I sat. I never forget. I met a guy. I had a relative who was dating this guy, and he said something that was just fundamentally incorrect about the stock market. And I just humbly submitted. I said, "Well, actually, this is one of the things the research shows that actually this is actually what they say is actually happening." And this guy argued me down. And then when and I was like, "Okay, well, I understand. I hear your point, but here's another way to look at it." And he just kept cutting me off and wouldn't let me finish a sentence. And I was so frustrated. I was like, "Oh my God, please get this idiot out of my face. I cannot talk to this man anymore." Right? So a lot of times this is what you run into also. And so here's more in terms of why your intelligence would be perceived as a threat to other people. And maybe that's what happened. Maybe I said something that made him feel like he was in a pissing contest, so he had to compete with me, and I wasn't competing with him because I was like, I mean, to be honest, I mean, what I look like trying to compete with you? I mean, I I teach PhDs. Like I'm not, we're not. If I'm Michael Jordan, I'm not really going to the local basketball court really thinking I have to work hard to win the game. I'm just playing back. I'm just having fun. My real competition is Patrick Ewing and the New York Knicks. It ain't you, Pookie. Right? Like that's how I felt, right? So anyway, let me stop here. All right, so here's something. It says this perceived challenge can activate the amygdala, leading to feelings of discomfort or defensiveness. In some cases, this response is akin to the hijack, where the emotional response overrides rational thinking, resulting in reactions that may seem disproportionate to the situation. So here are some tips on how you can manage when you're presenting new ideas to people who may not be ready for them. Y'all ready? Take notes. Let me know. Give me a conscious yes if you're going to take notes on this. And also, before I forget, let me remind you guys, we're doing stock market class later on today. So if you want to join us in the stock market club, just go to drboystockmarket.com. We'll talk all about the stocks. I'll tell you what I like the most and break all that down. You can ask me questions, all that. drboystockmarket.com. Also, options are on Friday. So if you're in Prime, we're gonna break down the Moneymaker Grid on Friday. I finished the Moneymaker Grid. I'll text it out to you guys. And third, Lawrence Eggleston. Lawrence Eggleston, who is that brilliant young brother that we brought in before. He's super smart. He's 25 years old. He worked with those guys at Earn Your Leisure as well, and he's really I just have so much respect for him. He joined us in the Black Business School, and he's going to do a swing trading masterclass the 6 weeks. A lot of you joined him for the Swing Traders Weekend. A lot of you liked it so much that we decided to do a Swing Traders Masterclass. And what we'll do is that for everybody in this class, you'll get an opportunity to join for I think like 52% of the price. So we'll take 48% off for the early bird, and I think he starts like on the 15th of July, and it's going to be 6 weeks long. They're going to be twice a week, and so if you're into swing trading and with the stocks or options, Lawrence is great at that. So I'm going to bring him in, and you may want to bring if you have sons or daughters that are in their early 20s or in their 20s, you may want to bring them in. Remember, one membership feeds the whole family, so you can share it with everybody. If you have three people in your family that want to join, you don't have to sign up three times. Just sign up once, and everybody come in at the same time in the same Zoom, and you can join Lawrence. And he's really good, and I like him a whole lot. And I'm really honored and happy that he's joined us in the Black Business School. So I'll give you guys an early bird link in the next couple of days. So make sure you're on the text list for this class so you can get the updates. Text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. All right. So here are some tips you can use to share complex ideas to people who may not be ready for them. All right. Number one, practice empathetic communication. Empathetic communication. That means tailor your language to be inclusive and try to avoid jargon that may alienate people, right? A lot of times when people try to explain something, they try to sound as smart as possible. And what that can do is that can make people feel like you're trying to show, you're separating yourself from them. You're trying to show that you're smarter and better than them. also being inclusive and listening and being empathetic and really trying to understand where they're coming from. In fact, listening, I think, is really more important than actually talking. And I try to practice this. I don't always get it right, but if a lot of you ever meet me in the airport or at the All Black National Convention or something, one thing I hope you'll notice is that when you're talking to me, I'm listening. I really want to listen. I really want to hear your story. I want to connect to your story because how can I help you if I don't understand where you're coming from, right? If I don't understand where you're trying to go, how can I help you get there, right? So ultimately, that's the goal. Next, cultivate emotional intelligence, which will benefit you in everything. It'll benefit you in parenting. It'll benefit you in relationships. It'll benefit you in your friendships. It'll benefit you in business. Emotional intelligence is probably as important, if not more important, than actual intelligence. Actual intelligence, unfortunately, you become like this AI bot that's like speaking in this like techie jargon that nobody understands. But emotional intelligence means you can be smart and connect to human beings and how they feel. So cultivating emotional intelligence means it might mean enhancing your ability to read social cues and adjust your actions accordingly. So if you find somebody is showing a reaction that isn't good, maybe emotional intelligence helps you kind of figure out like, okay, hey, look, is that confusing? Does it make sense? Do you understand? Right? Um, Seek constructive feedback. This is something a lot of people don't do. Engage with trusted peers to gain insights into how your communication style is perceived. So, if you ever really you gain the courage to do this, talk to some people and just say, "What's wrong with me? What do I do wrong? Like, what do I do that offends people? What, if I maybe the person you love, like, okay, what is it that I do that kind of burns you up or makes you mad sometimes?" And I think really having that ability to ask people like where areas where you can improve. I don't see people do that enough, but I think that's an easy hack to just at least see yourself through the eyes of others. Even if you don't adjust anything, it just gives you deeper perspective on yourself and how you might be perceived. Foster collaborative environments. Encourage open dialogue and value diverse perspectives to create a more inclusive atmosphere. I like that a lot. I like that. When I think about the word inclusive, I might think about like DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think everybody that's smart should have a DEI based approach to everything, meaning that you understand the world comes from diverse perspectives. People have different points of view. That should be valued. Equity, like okay, we're equal, we're just different maybe in certain ways. I'm going to stand on who I am. I'm not ever deviating from being Boyce. Me being Boyce doesn't take away from your right to be you. And inclusive, like okay, so tell me what you think. If you ever run a business, here's a little secret. If you run a business and you have a team, don't ever try not to be the boss. Try not to be the boss. You might be the boss, but don't try to be the boss. Because if you're the boss and you're paying everyone, they're going to know you're the boss. You don't have to tell them you're the boss. You don't have to act like the boss. You don't have to be bossy, right? Be a leader. Be a leader. So if you're talking to your team, don't just say, "Here's what I think. Here's what I think. Here's what I think." Say, "What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?" And you still get to make the final decision because you're the boss. Everybody knows you're the boss. You ain't got to tell them you're the boss, right? And really, I think it's also good to work with people who understand that, right? Who understand that boundary too, so they don't constantly try to test you, right, and push you over the limit. But value their point of view and involve them in the decision. Like, so if you have a very hard thing to explain to discuss with somebody, you might start off by saying, "Look, hey, I kind of need your help with this. Like, so here's my dilemma. I'm trying to figure out how to blah 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 blah. So, what do you think, right?" And when people feel heard and they feel like you're valuing their point of view, they really are more able and willing to align with whatever it is you have in mind, right? So, it works really well with kids. When I talk to our kids and I try to convince them of something, convince them to do something I want them to do, I don't come in and say, "Do this, do that." I say, "Okay, look, I need your help. All right, so here's the problem. Look, so you missed the bus, and because you sometimes I know the alarm goes off and you don't hear the alarm and you miss the bus and it makes you late. And when you're late, you're really upset. You're scrambling, trying to pull stuff together. You forget stuff, and then you end up crying and you get sad. And I don't want to see you sad. You don't like being sad, do you? No? Okay, so I have an idea, and I want you to just consider what I'm saying here. So maybe in the morning, maybe the night before, we make a little checklist of the things that we have to have ready, and then we get everything prepared the night before, so that in the morning we're able to have everything ready, so we can, you know what I mean? And when people do that, when you talk that way, again, this is the trend. This is not me. I couldn't have had this conversation with you in 2018 because I didn't know these things. I learned these things from marrying a woman with kids, right? Becoming a bonus dad. This is why I really it does cringe my soul a little bit when guys are like telling other men like you're stupid if you marry a woman with kids because you grow a lot, you learn a lot, and if you like kids, I told you I love kids. I think and they all work for me and we're succeeding together and it's so much fun. And I feel like men that really listen to other less mature men are gonna like miss that. And so anyway, with the kids, I had to pick up these skills and learn okay, how can I convince you to do what I really want you to do? Because I'm the boss. You know, I'm the boss. I'm the man of the house. Again, I'm an old school Southern black man. I know I'm the man of the house, but I don't necessarily need to get this done in an oppressive fashion because if I don't get your buy-in, it's going to make it that much harder for me to lead. Do you understand? Like leadership is easiest if you get the buy-in of the people who are supposed to follow you, right? If not, they're going to resist you constantly. They're going to undermine you. They're going to deceive you. They're going to rebel against you, right? Which makes it more stressful for everybody. So it's like, okay, let me see if I can get the buy-in here. So really in general, here's my point I want to make for you by virtue of the fact that you're coming in here every day and you're making the investment of time to spend here every morning with me, which I hope is you're getting a good return on your investment. You are naturally going to be an intellectual and financial leader in your family, whether you like it or not. Just your sheer competence, just the fact that you've been exposed to ideas that only 1% of Americans even understand, the fact that you have shown a level of discipline and commitment that far exceeds 99% of the people that we know, you're going to be a natural leader. That's it. That's it. And people are going to pick up on that. And so with that leadership comes a certain amount of power, and with that power comes a degree of responsibility. So it's not just about learning enough to become competent and learning enough to become powerful. You also must learn how to be responsible with that power. Do you understand? Like if I build a weapon, it takes a lot of time and a lot of skill and a lot of energy to build that powerful weapon. But then I got to learn how to use the damn thing so I don't kill anybody. Right? You understand? So your mind really is a weapon. Your skill becomes a weapon. And this is me sharing with you something that I hope will help you as you break these generational curses, as you confront the bad habits in your family, as you kind of run into these challenges in terms of elevating the people around you, things like that. It's really a nuanced kind of job, and you're gonna have some resistance and some challenges along the way. You're gonna get some stuff wrong. Some people are never gonna get it, and it's totally all of that's fine as long as you're learning all the way through. I'm always learning. I'm always like, okay, I couldn't get them to listen to me this time. So what do I got to do next time? Or what did I do wrong that time? Do you understand? Because I'm telling you, knowledge is power. Intelligence truly is power. Insights are power. I've never had an illusion about the power that I have. I know I have power. It's like I heard Idris Elba. He said something really funny. He was like, they said, so Idris, do you know how these women go wild over you? They go crazy. And are you aware of that? And he goes, I'm very much aware of the effect I have on women. He just said it like that. I thought that was so funny. And his wife knows it too, by the way. His wife like will put his picture up and she'll be like, "Okay, ladies, so I'm here sharing him with all of y'all, right?" So that's kind of funny. So his wife takes it in stride. But I don't have that effect on women like that. But I'm saying like I do know that the skill that I have it means something. I do know that the work I put in has given me a certain amount of influence and impact and but then my goal at that point is to say, how do you use this in the most responsible way? Um, and that's a journey. It's always a journey. You're always going to be better. Hopefully, you're always going to be better 5 years later than you were 5 years ago. And sometimes I look and I see other men and I wish I could influence them a little bit to use their power in a different way. Like so, for example, the rapper 50 Cent, he has 30 million followers. And unfortunately, a lot of what he does on his Instagram page is he trolls people, he bullies people, he makes fun of people. It's very immature stuff. And I feel like a man that's 50 years old should be using the platform for something that's a little more elevating for his people. Sure, everybody needs a good laugh. Sometimes it's cool to have a little fun, but I really think you have a responsibility if you're in a community that is suffering so much and you're doing so well, right? There's so many problems to be solved, and you personally have solved a lot of them. I personally would hope that that power could be used in a way that's a little more empowering, right, for everybody, for the collective. But that's my 2 cents. All right, so a couple things I'm going to share with you, and before I share these last couple things, I want to also mention, don't forget the All Black National Convention's coming up soon. I'm going to send out a link. I didn't bring it to class, but I'm gonna send out a link for anybody that I think we have a couple more spots in breakout sessions. If you have an expertise that you'd like to share at the convention, and you guys are the first ones that I always send these things to. I don't send them out to the general public because we don't want just any and everybody coming to the convention. But let's see, I can't find the sheet for experts. So I'm going to find that. Oh, here we go. The ABC speaker form. Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to put this link in the chat for those of you that want to speak at the convention, and for those who want to just be attendees, there's no just there. It's an amazing experience. You can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. It's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, August 21st to the 23rd. And so feel free to join us. I hope you guys will come out and hang out with us in Atlanta. All right, so here is the link to speak if you want to apply to be a speaker. Just share enough information so the committee can get a sense of what you're good at and what you're going to bring to the table, and they can work with you on that. All right, so a couple things I want to mention too is that when you're talking about Black people being intelligent and competent in the workplace, a lot of times that's seen as a threat. Intelligent Black people are very threatening. We talked about that. So here are some stats that sort of discuss what you go through in the workplace. They said that actually there's increased job dissatisfaction and burnout. Rice University found that Black employees who frequently encounter subtle racial slights, such as assumptions about their work ethic or integrity, report higher levels of job dissatisfaction and burnout. There's another study that says, according to Harvard Business Review, only 3% of Black professionals felt ready to return in person to work, compared to 21% of their white counterparts. The reason cited was that remote work has provided a buffer against microaggressions. And this is according, I think this is NPR, or sorry, Harvard Business Review. I'm sorry, Harvard Business Review found this, and I find that interesting because the big part of the reason that my dream 25 years ago was to work from home is because I didn't want to be in a space that felt hostile to me. I did not enjoy that. That felt bad for my soul and my spirit and my physical and mental health. And the studies actually show that Black people die sooner because of workplace related stress. That's the number one driver. It's the stress in the workplace. So if we want to really do what's best for our kids, then we teach them about wealth and investing and saving and different ways to make money so that they have an escape path from the dungeon hellhole that some of us have to go to every single day in order to pay bills. But you have to start early. You start when they're babies. You start before they're born. You start when they're very little. And if you do that with things like the $5 a day plan, you can easily get them out of that situation forever. You can literally liberate them. You can literally buy their freedom from the plantation, but you have to have a plan. So to get off the plantation, you got to have a plan. So take off the tation and make a plan. And so don't give them plantation, give them a plan instead. There we go. That's bars for you. And that'll make a big difference for them. If you haven't done the $5 a day plan or taken a look at that, I really want everybody in here to be an investor. So feel free to go to blackwealthmasterplan.com. That's blackwealthmasterplan.com. And that'll show you the $5 a day plan. Blackwealthmasterplan.com. All right. So one more thing here that I saw is they say chronic exposure to racial microaggressions contributes to heightened stress responses, leading to physical health issues such as hypertension and cardiovascular disease amongst Black individuals. There's another study that says that research has shown that racial microaggressions are linked to increased symptoms of depression, anxiety, and other signs of psychological distress among African Americans. So give me a yes in the chat if you know somebody or if you personally have seen anyone or yourself have experienced either any of these symptoms as a result, specifically as a result of stress from work, depression, anxiety. What else did they say? Hypertension or cardiovascular disease. Anybody seen that happen? How many of you seen that? That's a big deal. That's a systematic problem. And solving systematic problems requires systematic solutions. So we have to systematically commit ourselves to generational wealth strategies and economic strategies that will liberate us from the corporate plantation. I'm gonna share this and then I'm gonna finish for today. I talked to our youngest about life, and what I told her was I said, look, in life, basically, because I've told you all this. She wants to be a dancer growing up, and everybody's told her it's impossible to be a professional dancer because professional dancers don't make a lot of money. And I said, don't you ever dare believe any of that stuff because that's just not true. It doesn't mean because you don't have to make all your money as a dancer. You can, in fact, I prefer you not make your money as a dancer or as an actress or any of these things because I've seen people and I know people in Hollywood. I know famous rappers. I know people that have achieved the dream of entertainment and ended up in a worse place than they were before they started. They go to a Diddy party, catch an STD, get sexually assaulted, end up being disrespected, end up on drugs, right? I've seen these things. So I don't really care if you make your money as a dancer. I know you love dancing. I think you should dance for as long as you want to. I said, instead of you making your money as a dancer, I'd like for you to make your money as an investor. And I said, because here's the deal, look, and you don't have to be a wealthy investor. You don't have $1 million in the bank to do this. I said, basically what you got to do, and this is the job of every young person, share this with any kid in your family or anybody that you care about, is basically you just got to solve what I call the $5,000 problem. And the $5,000 problem is very simple. It relates to this basic idea. Most people, if they were able to make $5,000 a month without going to work, they would be in a position where they could quit their job. Or at the very least, they'd be in a position where they could lose their job and know that they're not going to be homeless. Would you agree with this? Would you agree with this? That for most people, if they had $5,000 free a month coming in income, $60,000 a year, and they got this money without doing any work at all, they wouldn't have to ever really work again. It doesn't mean that they'd be comfortable with it. I'm not saying they'd be rich, but you think about it, a lot of mortgages are less than 2,500 a month. A lot, you can buy mortgage, food, whatever, right? But, it'll be tight, maybe, possibly, but for some of you, but you could survive, right? So I said, that's it. I said that's the one thing, right? I love it. I love it when you take a complex idea and you can reduce it to one simple solution, one simple thing, right? And so I said, look, all you got to do if you want to be free is in life, just solve the $5,000 problem. Figure out how to make $5,000 a month without going to work. And then you have access to all kinds of freedoms that other people can only dream about. Most people give up tens of thousands of hours of labor and free time, time that they would rather spend with their kids, time they rather spend with their friends and family, time they rather spend on themselves. And they take all that time and they spend it in some hostile environment just so they can get just enough money to pay bills and get by, just so they can get maybe $4,000 or $5,000 a month. So I said, if you can solve the $5,000 a month problem, the $5,000 problem, then you're free. You're off the plantation forever. So you don't need a plantation. You need a plan. A lot of people are searching for a better plantation. I say stop searching for a better plantation and start searching for a better plan. Okay. All right. So that's it. That's all I got for today. I hope that was helpful. If you want to join us for stock options class on Friday, you can go to drboyceprime.com, drboyceprime.com, or you can also text the word options to the number 87948, and I'll send you information on what we do in terms of our options curriculum. Text options to 87948. Also, one more thing too. I sent you all that link for the challenge. I wanted you guys to anonymously put in like your nickname for yourself or your team and how much money total you've invested in stocks and crypto. And I want to add that number up. And once I get it, once everyone submits that information, it takes like 10 seconds and it's not personal. You're not telling us your business is nothing. It's all anonymous. I'm going to add that number up and I'm going to be able to tell the world how much as a class we have created in generational wealth through stock market investing. Does that make sense? Like I really want to brag about all the great results we've had because I've seen a lot of you, your wealth has gone up because you've been investing, you're doing better financially, and I'm very proud of that. because I like solutions that actually solve problems and not solutions that just sound good and feel good. And so I'm going to share this link actually. It's called the BBS Stock Market Accumulation Form. That's the title you'll see. But basically, all it is you just put in your nickname. I think there's one more question, like how long have you been investing? And then you just put in your total dollar amount. You can do a rough estimate. It doesn't have to be precise. And what I'm gonna do is add it all up, and I will let you all know how much as a class total in wealth we have in this space right now. So I'm putting that link in the chat right now. So feel free to take a look at that and fill in the information whenever you can. All right, guys. So have a wonderful day. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Or actually, for those of you that are coming to stock market class, I'll see you there too as well.